and welcome back. This is part 4 of our series of sailing the Apostle Islands of Lake Superior. We'll be starting off at Manitou Island at the fishing camp. Then we'll take a hike through the forest, find some unusual things, and after a visit to the beach, be back aboard Soteria, and then have to make the trip back to Bayfield due to weather, and then following that, a rather wet haul out. And a rather troubling and surprising drive home. All that coming up. That trip was summer of 2023. We hope to be back to Lake Superior summer of 2024 and sail over to Isle Royale, a goal we've had for 40 years. Anyway, let's get back to Manitou Island and continue where we left off. We briefly visited the fishing camp here on the southwest shore of Manitou after tying up at this dock near sundown. We got some sleep, and now it's morning. Beautiful warm weather. We're going to go check out the camp and the forest. This island is unique in the collection of islands that make up the Apostle Islands National Lakeshore, in that its focus is on this fishing camp. The Park Service purchased this property in 1983 and brought it back into its likely state in the 1930s. That's about the time the Olsen brothers bought the camp from Swedes, who had long-running logging operations here from around 1900. The Olsens expanded the camp with an eye towards ice fishing, as ice tended to be thickest around here. Under ice net fishing was challenging. I showed an ice fishing exhibit at the Bayfield Maritime Museum in the first episode of our Apostle Islands tour. It was an important activity here, and my guess the Park Service wanted to help preserve that history. Shown here, I've labeled some key buildings and items at the camp. To the north of the pier, and then to the south of the pier is Olsen's cabin, and this little smokehouse behind it used to preserve fish. During the summer months, Park Service typically has someone here to open cabins, maintain the site, and answer questions about the camp. Alright, it's time now to head into the forest on Overlook Trail. This is a northern hardwood forest. It's a secondary growth, meaning the original old-growth forest was pretty much clear-cut, and that was about 100 years ago. One species commonly found here is paper birch, so named because you can peel off the bark in thin paper-like layers. Anyway, the forest trail now winds down to Lakeside. Oh, look at this guy. But just ahead of that, I find a big eastern toad. Wow, what a surprise. I wonder how it got here. They don't like swimming. They lack webbed toes like frogs. So it's doubtful it swam here from an island 2-3 miles away, and it's highly improbable I came across a recent arrival. There are likely other toads around here. They're in some form of hibernation in winter, so I doubt they hopped over the ice. Maybe they hopped over here when lake levels were low during glacial times. Now, Park Service does include toads in their amphibian monitoring on these islands, so I guess finding one of these fellas is not all that rare. Elsewhere along the trail, we came across a variety of mosses, some of the most primitive plants. They're without a vascular system to transport water up into their stems. Lakeshore is interesting. If you like boats, you'll probably like studying waves, and the clear, warmish waters here are interesting and fun to explore. Then there are these colorful rocks, brown sandstones, the black basalts, indicating the complex geology of this lake. This lake's unique among the 5 Great Lakes in its origin. It sits in a rift breaking in the crust of the earth, and that's why it's so much deeper than the other lakes. It's unique in its formation. Well, now it's early afternoon. We'd better head back to the boat and make some use of this light wind. On the trail back, I found another critter surprise, a garter snake. Well, now I find myself asking the same questions again as I had for the toad. I doubt these guys swam here either. So, another mystery. Well, the trail eventually heads us back to the fishing camp. And there's Soteria at the pier waiting for us. Well, we drift away with 5 knots of wind from Manitou, and our hope is to reach Michigan Island, but winds are so light, and now NOAA weather forecast showing us indicating lousy weather for tomorrow, fog and drizzle. We instead opt for an overnight anchorage at Presque Bay along Stockton Island. Good protection from easterly waves too. That's one thing I like about sailing around here. Lots of options for sheltering among the islands from wind and waves. But finding good holding ground for an anchor might be more of a challenge. If you see a beach, there's a good chance you'll find good anchorage. Otherwise, there are rocks all over underwater, and you'll need to be careful not to get your anchor wedged into them. Yup, it's a quiet, foggy morning all around as we look about. There is a light east wind, and the fog is beginning to break. Michigan Island's out there. Well, maybe next year we'll get to it. There are 2 lighthouses there, one meant as a replacement. Now, if you enjoy seeing lighthouses, check out the Apostles. There are 9 lighthouses on the islands of the National Lakeshore and on adjacent lands. In his book on the Great American Lighthouses, F. Ross Holland Jr. claimed that within the boundaries of the Apostle Islands National Lakeshore is the largest and finest single collection of lighthouses in the country. With the wind picking up a little, maybe east at 10 knots now, we weigh anchor and get underway in this patchy fog. I'd raise the radar reflector, but conditions will be improving and we have good visibility anyway at this point. We do have radar, but it's not working. It's another upcoming wintertime project as we get this boat more fully functional. We make our way on a broad reach down the Bayfield. It's about 12 miles, and along much of the length of Madeline Island on our south side. Water temps are still warm at 67 Fahrenheit. Fog continues to lift, but it's still patchy in areas. It was a gentle sail back to Bayfield, though not the prettiest because of the fog and low, thick gray clouds. Sad to think of it, but our sailing season is about over. We get hauled out tomorrow. We need to get our boat prepared and trailer out of storage. There was a light to moderate rain all night, as if to say, hey, I'll find some stuff for you to fix during the off-season. Leaks into the cabin showed up, and in this wet morning I'm searching for the source using my moisture meter. Looks like the most likely leaks are coming from handrail fittings, and perhaps even these dorade vents. Maybe the drains are plugged up on them. This boat spent most of its life in the Baja area of Mexico, so weak seals may have gone unnoticed. I'll take notes and work on rebedding all these fittings on the cabin top over the winter when I'm back home. It's a soggy day. A band of showers will slide up over us the entire day during haul out. It's a quick drive over to the haul out bay. I've disconnected the 2 shrouds and the staysail stay, and I've slackened off as much as I can the 4 stays, fore, aft, port, and starboard. Now a crane shows up to help lower the mast. Now the travel lift backs up over the boat and slides its straps under the boat. Strap placement's a bit tricky in that the boat needs to be balanced when lifting, but also that the straps don't touch the rudder, prop, or prop shaft, otherwise major damage could occur. But actually for a full keel boat like ours, the most sensitive thing is the rudder. The prop shaft are pretty well protected. Anyway, it all goes smoothly in the rain. Soteria is now on her trailer. The lift leaves and the boat is hauled away to a parking spot for us to finalize the packing and tie down for the trip home. The next morning comes with a bright, fresh blue sky. Would have been nice to have this yesterday, but it'll be great for starting the drive home. Well, goodbye for now,
It's
Bayfield.
gorgeous out. We're heading out, starting our way back home to Colorado.
We start out driving down Route 13 to Washburn, and then on to Ashland, then take a right turn heading west on US Route 2 to Duluth. Then it's a left turn going south on I-35 to Minneapolis. For the long distance we need to cover, the interstate offers probably the safest roads and non-stop travel. Worrying about local traffic, people, and other objects you find along small roads is tiring for me, and the speeding up and stopping is hard on the truck, boat, and trailer. Although traveling the interstate highway bypasses much more interesting scenery, we do come across some interesting finds, like this school bus conversion to camper and car hauler. We are blessed with great fall weather. And when it's time to get some sleep, we join the other campers at the back of the parking lot. Continue on heading west to the dry, high plains of Colorado. Whenever we stop for fuel or rest, I look over my rig, truck, trailer, and boat. Is there anything loose on the boat, like tie-down straps? Are the chains, trailer wiring connector, and hitch looking good? Are any of the 6 trailer buddy bearings warm? Do they need grease? How are the tires doing? Tread wear and inflation. Often, trailer tires need to be replaced not because of wear, but due to age. Trailers often sit around a lot compared to a car, so check that tread. Make sure it looks good. Make sure the rubber isn't cracking or rotten. Always check the date the tire was made. You can see it here, 4 digits. The first 2 are the week it was made, and the last 2 are the year. Same systems for all tires made after year 2000. When I bought this boat and trailer, 2 of the 6 tires were old. I thought I'd give it a run, though. Generally, a tire more than 6 years old should be replaced. This old tire here was nearly 12 years old. Had good looking tread. But you see, after use on our high load and speed, this tire literally blew up. Now, I haven't mentioned engine problems thus far, but a couple times on the way up to Superior, and now 3 times on the way back home, the check engine light came on. The first 2 occurrences were related to the EGR, exhaust gas recirculation valve, and that was early on. A mechanic told me to clear it with my code reader, and if the code came back, then it probably needs to come in for cleaning, but it never did. I have this code reader with me so I can do some minor probing of what's going on whenever I see the check engine light. However, on this trip home I had different codes, and they were for catalytic converter performance, fuel temperature, the NOx sensor, Anyway, we're now within 50 miles of home, so I figured I'd just take care of this when we get home with our local mechanic. The truck struggled on the 2,000-foot climb at 46% grade on the final leg home. A few days later, we dropped the truck off at the shop. Apparently, mice had cut through insulation and wires, some of it in places that required taking parts out. That wound up being a 3 to 4 day job, and one costing us $3,000. Fortunately, we had comprehensive insurance on this truck, so I was only out the deductible of $250. I now keep glue traps under the hood. Reflecting on this trip, it was our first trip with this boat. We had things to learn about the boat and found more things to fix. But that's how it goes with an old boat. Overall, it was a fantastic experience. And we'll head back next summer. Now, if you're interested in exploring the land and lake, the southwest side, Lake Superior near the Apostles, there are a couple websites that come in handy. Almost daily, the Park Service updates conditions of the islands and facilities at their National Lakeshore website. And for those of you boaters out there or otherwise interested in conditions on the lake, you can get weather and lake surface conditions at NOAA's National Data Buoy Center website. And there's a more dense network of buoys operated by the Friends of the Apostles National Lakeshore at their website. Well, I hope you enjoyed that 4-part series on exploring the Apostle Islands aboard our Pacific Sea craft Orion 27. That was summer 2023. We'll be back, or at least that's our plan, for summer 2024, beginning possibly in the Apostles, catching a couple more islands that we hadn't seen but we really wanted to, and then making the trip across the lake to the North Shore, Minnesota and possibly Canada as well. And the big goal is to see Isle Royale. So that's the plan. Hopefully it'll all work out. Well, our next video will be on install of an isotherm 3751 that comes with a through-hole cooler instead of a conventional fins and fan. So till then, see you next time.